Hello, this is Jan from MES, and I'm happy to present you the latest MES tool release highlights for summer 2021. We are looking into the model examiner, MXAM, and I have Michael here with me from the MXAM team. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Jan.
And the latest version is the MES model examiner 7.1, and one of the new features is regarding the validation of project settings. Michael, maybe you can show us a little bit more here.
In MXAM, there are validation markers to validate your project settings. You can find your project settings here, and before each analysis, these project settings are getting validated. For the result of this validation, there are different types, how these results are getting classified, for example, info or warning and error. So the new feature for this newest release is that in case of a validation warning or a validation error, we get a pop-up when we try to start an analysis, which shows us the validation warnings and errors. So for example, if I remove here one field in the general settings, the email, for example, and save the project and try to run the analysis, then we have a new pop-up here, which tells us that there are problems in the settings, but I can still click on proceed to run the analysis because this is only a validation warning. I can also use this checkbox here to ignore any warnings for future analysis. That's up to the user. If there are other problems in the project settings which result in a validation error, the pop-up stops you from starting an analysis. So you should fix the error first before you can start the next analysis. This can be, for example, if you have no referenced guideline document in your project. So here we have the guideline document, and if I remove this document, we can save the project again. And if I try to start an analysis now, you see this pop-up comes again, but this time with an error. And I cannot start the analysis if this is in a wrong setting. This was the newest feature for the validation of the project settings.
So the validation's purpose mostly is to make sure that you can run a smooth analysis and there's nothing hindering you from running an analysis like having no guideline document or having certain things not configured or just missing some settings that are essential for the analysis.
Yes, exactly.
So the next news is about improvements for the use of annotations. What has changed here, Michael?
Yes, this was a point that we already included in the last release, the first part of the story, and that was that in the last release we focused on the performance and compatibility with annotation files from older MXAM versions. And now in this release we continue with this topic and improved again the performance for adding or removing annotations. And this is especially for large reports with many annotations. And also we improved the error handling if there are problems with adding or removing an annotation. So if there is such a problem, then there's also a new pop-up which shows up if something went wrong while adding an annotation.
So an improvement in robustness mostly for the use of annotations in very large projects.
Yes.
And there's news from the checks team with 5 new checks for the MAP document. Michael, can we have a closer look into those?
Yes, sure. So we are continuously working on the extension of our coverage for the new MAP 5.0 document. And for this release, we implemented 5 new guidelines from this document. And I want to give you a quick overview of the first 4 guidelines. And in the end, I want to show you one new check more detailed because it's a quite complex check, but an important guideline. So let's start with the first 4 guidelines. The first guideline is the 𝗃𝗲𝗄𝗏, and this guideline is about the usage of logical operator blocks. And it says that the icon shape of these blocks shall be set to rectangular. So as in this example here. The next check is the DB0137, and this one is about states in state machines. And it says that if the decomposition of a chart or of a state is set to OR, then there shall be at least 2 states in the hierarchy. The next check is the JM0011, and this guideline says that you shall not use any pointers in stateflow. So if you set the action language of your chart to C, then you can use C pointers in stateflow, but this guideline says that you shall not use this feature. So we have here also the counter example. These are the pointers used in stateflow, and this is not allowed from the guideline. Then we have another guideline, the JM0012. And this guideline says that you shall not use any pointers. This one is about the usage of events in stateflow. Here are 3 different ways of syntaxes defined in the guideline, these A1, A2, and A3. And they define how to use events in your stateflow chart. So for example, the first variant says that the scope of your event shall be set to output. We have here the example of this first A1 variant of this guideline. And for this guideline, we also have one new check. And in this check, you can now define which of these syntaxes you want to allow in your project to be used for events. These were the first 4 guidelines. Let's now come to the 5th guideline, the 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗀. This guideline is about implicit typecasting in stateflow, and it says that all operations, including substitution, comparison, arithmetic, etc., shall be performed between variables of the same data type. The data type, it says also that the data type of the actual argument and the formal argument and the function call shall be the same. So if we take a look into the model, we see here first an example, and we see here a comparison, and the data types of I and n in this example are equal, and this is how it shall be. And the counterexample on the other side is down here, that they are not equal. And I have here an example in the model. So we run the check on a model, and if we take a look into the model, then we have here a transition where we have a comparison expression, and we can take a look into the model explorer to see the data types of the elements here, and we see that gyro value is here of type double. So it is compared with the uint 8, and that is a violation of this guideline. So this is a failed finding, but there are cases of implicit typecasting in stateflow where it is not possible to compile the model and which are getting identified by Simulink. But the problem for this use case is now that there are cases where it is not like this. So here we can still compile the model without any warnings from Simulink. And to avoid any problems in later stages of your software development or even in your final code, you can use this new check to early identify these implicit typecastings in stateflow. Yeah, that's it. These were the new checks for the newest MXAM release.
Thank you very much, Michael, for this insight into the new checks here. The MES Model Examiner 7.1 is available for download via the link in the tool update newsletter or via contact through our website. Thank you very much, Michael, for joining me here and showing us the new features.
Yes.
And goodbye, and we are looking forward to the next release in autumn. Bye-bye.